Welcome, everyone, to another special edition of Polar Opposites, Game 1 of the WNBA Finals between the Las Vegas Aces and the New York Liberty, going on in mere moments. Spencer Byers, Kajan, Thiru, Danny Castleum, and Kajan, they lied to me. Tip-off's in 10 minutes. It's almost 3 o'clock. What are we doing?
It's on
What are we
ABC.
doing?
It's on ESPN and it's on ABC. Should I say any more?
This is ridiculous. I can't believe it. It's going to be a 3:05 start, national anthems and all that garbage. It's not going to start till like 3:15. What's going on here? But anyway, before I complain more about distributors messing everything up, because, you.
We've had an eventful 3 days.
We have. You and I actually just finished up lacrosse today for the women's world lacrosse Super Sixes discipline for Canada
Brave,
lacrosse, technically. They are
brave,
down there in Oshawa.
brave the elements,
Yeah,
especially today.
today it was rather brisky, rather cool. But as we've mentioned, Cage,
Yep.
this game between the Aces and the Liberty, they have 5 MVPs between the two of them. 5 of the last 5 years.
Star-studded might actually be an understatement here. In Vegas, nonetheless, too.
Like, I don't think we've ever seen an NBA series that has this many MVP caliber MVP winners. Like, I just don't, I can't really think of one. Like, obviously, when you look at the Olympic Games or, with the Dream Team, Redeem Team, those teams had tons of MVPs, but those were the best of the best players all playing together for the country of the United States, basically. This is actually two teams that have a salary cap, that had to sign players, had to draft players, and they have 5 MVPs between them. The last 5 MVPs might I add between Breonna Stewart, Aja Wilson, and Jonquel Jones. And then also, in top of that, reigning 6th player of the year, Las Vegas Aces. They also obviously have Aja Wilson, who didn't win MVP this year, but got Defensive Player of the Year. Breonna Stewart, reigning MVP. 3-point contest champion, former first overall pick in an SQ. Like, not only do these two teams have some of the best players in the WNBA, if not the best players in the WNBA,
And I
they
think you
have
forgot.
great rosters, but great
And I
starting
think,
fives.
and I think you forgot to mention one big award winner, and that's, I guess you can say this right now, unless proven otherwise, reigning Finals MVP Chelsea Gray, who, by the way, turns 31 today. So happy birthday, Chelsea Gray.
I believe that would be last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Yep.
Finals MVP when Vegas won the championship last year. Because to make sure I say, Las Vegas Aces are the reigning, defending WNBA champions. So this is the best two teams in the WNBA. They collectively had 10 losses out of 80 games. Vegas, I think, lost 4. New York lost 6 out of their 40-game schedules. They're 1-2 in the WNBA. Connecticut, as you said, which we did make fun of you on the last episode of Polar Opposites. We have another episode coming out tomorrow.
Yep.
Make sure I say that. Polar Opposites, regularly scheduled programming on tomorrow and Thursday this week. We're going to 2 a week from now on. Adding on top of that, I'm not sure what schedule looks like Wednesday, but I know this series continues. I hope we're able to do this for every single game, just like we did for Canada at the World Cup. But again, that depends on scheduling and whatnot. But I think next weekend's game 3 is Sunday, and I definitely think we'll be able to do that one, regardless. So these games are going to be amazing. And hopefully we'll continue the expansion of audience in the WNBA. And another thing to mention here, we will talk about probably a little more in depth, is they have announced that Golden State, which is California, will be getting a WNBA team. I assume it'll be in San Francisco where the Golden State Warriors play.
Mm-hmm.
But It isn't because I will say, but they used to play in Oakland. Because I'll be honest, I was like Charles Barkley. I didn't know where Golden State was. Genuinely had no idea where they played. Cajun, they could have been playing in Maine, and I would have no idea.
Well, it
But
used to be
I got told
Oracle
they played in
Arena in
Oakland.
It used to be Oracle Arena in Oakland. Now it's Chase Center in San Francisco.
And now it is the Chase Center. And I do want to mention this, Cajun. There are quite a few days in between these finals games. So in 3 days' time, they'll play game 2 on October 11th, staying in Vegas. Then they take 4 days off to play next Sunday in New York. And then 3 days later, that next Wednesday, so the 18th of October, they'll play in New York. And then 2 days after that, if needed, obviously game 4 because it's a best of 5 series, so or best of 3 or best of 5 first to 3 wins. It'll only be 2 days in between game 4 and game 5. So this series for games wise is kind of interesting, but regardless. And you and I talked about X factors for this one, and obviously the broadcast team here, as we watch this, they're going to talk about obviously the stars in Breanna Stewart and A'ja Wilson, both players again up for the MVP. First, Stewart winning it. Third, A'ja was the reigning champion, was the champion last year, I should say, was the winner last year of the MVP, and is the reigning defensive player of the year. But we talked about how the supporting casts of Wilson and Stewart need to play well because you know what you're going to get with A'ja Wilson and Breanna Stewart. You know what they're going to bring to the table.
Yep.
Do you stick with your pick of Gray? I believe you said Gray would be the X factor, that position group. Do you stay with that going into this for game 1?
I do. Because we know about the stars. We know about the typical stars. Stewie versus A'ja. Ionescu versus Kelsey Plum. And then there's Courtney Vandersloot on the Liberty side. And then John Cole Jones. But people seem to forget, lost in all that star power, Chelsea Gray was the finals MVP last year. On a team that had Kelsey Plum and A'ja Wilson. And arguably had such an efficient playoff run too. So, and her play, and if this ends up being a close game, those are the moments that Chelsea Gray thrives off of. Plus, on top of that, turning 31, I think she's going to have extra motivation in front of her home fans to propel Las Vegas to a game 1 win. So, if New York bites the head of the snake, at least in terms of like the one guard in Chelsea Gray, they got a much better chance of winning this and stealing one in front of a star-studded and packed Vegas crowd.
Yeah, you mentioned that it looked like the Nets were there for New York. What's kind of funny is the New York Liberty are the only New York team in the WNBA, so technically the Knicks and the Nets could claim them, which I do think is kind of interesting. And then obviously you got Las Vegas Aces. They don't have an NBA team yet. I expect the NBA will. Keyword yet. Everyone's moving to Las Vegas. The NHL team they got, the Vegas Golden Knights just got expanded there. The Oakland Raiders just moved there not too long ago. The Oakland Athletics are going to be moving there, I believe, as of next season. So everybody's moving to LA. It seems like the NBA will be the last major team to not have a I guess a stronghold on Las Vegas. So I expect it's going to be that way, if not very soon, rather soon.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be very interesting if/when they get that done, because of all of the other major sports teams, sports leagues, moving teams or putting teams there. Kind of like how the NHL is also, reportedly looking at Salt Lake because of Utah wanting an NHL team and being able to most likely support an NHL team as they are in the, they seem like a northern enough market.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously we shall see if that does ring true as we're still getting through player intros as this game is almost ready to start between the Aces and the Liberty. And as we've talked about, this has seemingly been a collision course
Months in the making.
for basically since these two teams were constructed last winter. Because, the Liberty got Breanna Stewart, got Courtney Vandersloot in the offseason. The Aces had won the championship. We knew how good they were. Becky Hammond stayed after I'm not sure if it was honest NBA interest, but there was noise of NBA interest.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be really interesting to see these two teams go at it. And as it shows here on the broadcast, if the Aces can get the win in this series, they'll be the first teams to repeat since the Los Angeles Sparks in since 2001 and 2002. So 01-02. And then another thing it mentions, which ironically I assume the broadcasters would have mentioned in the booth, the Liberty haven't been to the finals since 2002. They're 0-4 in the WNBA Finals, are the New York Liberty.
And the last time they went to the finals was the same year Brooklyn, formerly New Jersey, the New Jersey Nets went to the finals in 02 when they got walloped by the Lakers.
Another thing I think is kind of funny, I will mention it here because they showed him again on the broadcast. Tom Brady with Mark Davis. Mark Davis, current owner of the now Las Vegas Raiders, as I mentioned. Brady, I believe, has bought Las Vegas Raiders stock, has bought shares in the organization. He also has just been finalized to have bought a minority stake in the Las Vegas Aces as they win the tip-off. Ironically, the ref got in the way, so everyone kind of stopped playing for a second, and now the 1-2 team in the WNBA are finally begun their best-of-5 series.
And
Really miss.
First basket of the game. Oh, I'm a little bit ahead of you, aren't I?
No, I was just gonna say because she missed it and then got the putback.
And it's going to be interesting to see how A'ja Wilson handles herself in the post against Jonquel Jones as Breanna Stewart gets a basket of her own. So
On A'ja Wilson, because again, that's a matchup. They're both technically the power forwards. They will be matched up this entire series, you'd expect.
And I believe that was Jackie Young that hit that three. Now mismatch in the post, Jonquel Jones.
Stewart misses a three there in the corner. Jonquel got the matchup she wanted, as you mentioned, and then they tried to double it, which made the forced kick out. Late contest, got that ball just to rim in and out. But
Right with the mid-range in and out.
It will be interesting to see how these teams match up defensively, because again, you think the best players are against the best players.
And speaking of three-point shooting, UNESCO doesn't really need a ton of space to get that shot off.
And she showed it there, Cage.
And now Plum answers with a 3. So this series, it's early, but it's already living up to the billing. And that was an errant pass there from Vandersloot.
Very rare for one of the assist leaders in the WNBA.
And Wilson going coast to coast using her off arm to finish with a layup. Ace is now doubling up on the Liberty 10-5. And now Vandersloot joins in the three-point party with a triple. Spence, it may have been cold outside, but we're seeing some heat today. At least on the final stage.
It is cold outside, but it's hot in Vegas. As again, I'm still interested to see how these two teams match up defensively, because that was a switch, which surprised me there by the Liberty, as that shot hits off the front of the rim as the shot clock goes off. Another rattle out 3 there. That was the Liberty. And that was Laney with that miss.
And Chelsea Gray says, I was a Finals MVP last year. Let me introduce myself on the WNBA's biggest stage with a triple. 13-8 for the Aces. That's a deep one for Breanna Stewart. Rebound going to Asia Wilson.
And I do want to mention here, Cage, the New York Liberty, first in 3-point field goals, first in 3-point percentage. The Las Vegas Aces, second in 3-point field goals, tied for second 3-point field goal percentage. So these two teams are not scared to take it from behind the arc.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, is surprising when you think they have two of the best power forwards in the game in Breanna Stewart and Aja Wilson. Probably the two best power forwards in the game. And for the New York Liberty, Jonquel Jones playing center. I was surprised there by Plum's shot selection, but shot clock goes off. As now Plum is kind of tangled up there with Stewart as they were trying to get the switch back with Wilson.
And with a team like the Liberty who can go to either option and Breanna Stewart and Jonquel Jones, it's going to be very interesting to see how the Aces adjust defensively if they go into one of their mismatches and switch with Jones or Stewart, as Jones flips it up and in.
And that's on her matchup, Stokes, which I think may be the biggest discrepancy, like you'd say, name-wise, between Jonquel Jones and Stokes there for the Liberty. Normally, it would be a 6th MVP winner if he was playing in, as I get interrupted by another 3 there for the Aces. And it is Young again. But it'd be Candace Parker, playing center, normally. But she has been hurt and will not, I don't think, participate in this particular series.
And that's scary. And that's extremely scary. Like, this Aces team could be a lot better.
It could get even better.
Jones just got fouled by Stokes and shot to the line for 2.
And LeBron James is in the crowd.
The NBA's all-time leading scorer.
I wonder how long we've been waiting to use that one, Kajan.
Hey.
But of course, we had a TV timeout. There'd be a lot more of these than you and I were used to in the World Cup games.
Yep.
But it definitely has been a interesting start. Both teams showing that they are not scared to pull from 3, not scared to attack the other team. And I'm going to use a coaching thing that some people talk about and some people don't. Okay. Without looking at advanced analytics, there are 4 things that constitute to a result in a basketball game. There's 4. There's the 4 possession enders: field goals, free throws, turnovers, and rebounds. Those are the 4 ways a possession can end. If you can win at least 2 of the 4, you're going to have a good chance of winning the game. So throughout this game and throughout the other games we will do, I will make sure I continue to update field goal percentage, free throw percentage, rebounding, and turnovers. Because both of those 2 things, as you mentioned with Vandersloot, with that, I'll say ugly pass, but that very much missed pass, caused an extra Vegas possession, which then I led to points. So it's going to be very important. And to add to that, AJ Wilson missed the first shot of the game, got her own rebound, puts it back up, and gets 2 points back. So I will continue to bring up percentages as we go throughout these games because of how important they will be in dictating who wins these games. It is very hard to win games when you're not able to win the possession enders, especially unless your team just dominates certain tactics.
Yeah.
Like if you shoot the lights out the gym, you can get out rebounded and still win, or vice versa. If you don't shoot very well, but you get enough second chances to get more points, then you have a chance of winning the game. And if you limit turnovers, like the Boston Celtics, when they went to the finals 2 years ago, if they had less than, I think it was 10 to 12 turnovers, they won the finals game. If they had more than 12 turnovers, they lost the game. And that was for all 4 losses they had in the NBA Finals, were games where they just could not hold on to the ball. And I think the last one was the worst one, with Jaylen Brown having, 7 turnovers in the pivotal game? Or was that this year in the conference finals?
I think he had like 9.
Because Jaylen Brown's had problems in the playoffs with turnovers. And that's a big reason why the Celtics have not been able to win in clutch time. It's because of turnovers. It's because of ball handling, which is, again, why they made that trade for Jrue Holiday. But now back to the game. And Breanna Stewart got handed posted on Twitter with her basketball goals at 12 years old.
12 to 13 blocks a game.
Apparently she thought she was Akeem Olajuwon.
I don't even think Hakeem did that.
Well, average, no, but he had a quadruple double. I think he's the last person to have a quadruple double, meaning it's the exact thing as a triple double, but add another stat to it. And no, not turnovers, James Harden.
It was either him or David Robinson.
Regardless, it was one of the best centers that ever played the game. David Robertson, the Admiral, the Dream Hakeem, Olajuwon. Another thing they're showing there is Breanna Stewart was the Finals MVP for Seattle when they won the championship, which I actually believe, Kajan, was the year before last. So not last year when Vegas won it. I think the year before it was Seattle with Breanna Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say Sue Bird.
Oh, big block there from Vandersloot on what Kelsey Plum thought was a wide open corner triple, but Vandersloot channeling her defensive credentials.
I think they're the one matchup we haven't really talked about, Kajan, in Vandersloot versus Plum. But I talked about Ionescu versus their shooting guard, which I think I might have said was Plum, but I know she technically does play point guard. And they're gonna call it travel against Plum, which I think Plum kind of smirked at, and we'll go on back. Ooh, and Jonquel Jones now kind of limping.
It's trying to get back onto the post against Stokes. Fades back. No good. Rebound by Plum. And the Ace is looking to push it in transition, or semi-transition, I should say. And that's back-to-back turnovers for the Aces, but luckily they're both dead ball and they can set up their defense. Now this is going to be very interesting here with Stokes out, subbed out now. Asia Wilson's going to be guarding Jonquel Jones at the post, so this is going to be a very interesting matchup to see.
Yeah, it is, especially because again, A'ja Wilson reigning Defensive Player of the Year, but then that also means that it's more of a big change for the Aces when they have to match up against Breanna Stewart, who is A'ja Wilson's normal target.
Mm-hmm. Both teams shooting just under. Oh, what a pass by Vandersloot,
Yeah,
threading
she
the needle.
she had that turnover earlier that was ugly, and now a beautiful pass there for the Liberty point guard, slipping it right through that tight window.
Oh man,
I cannot believe that was a make, Cajun.
Johannes now 5 points off of the bench and forces an Aces timeout. 7-0 run in the last almost 2 minutes of this game.
Cajun,
So the Liberty,
I'm miffed how Johannes hit that shot. It was a stretch pass by Stewart, and she didn't really collect. She caught it, settled, and pulled it while moving. She landed on the ground, and it was nothing but net. Like, you couldn't have shot it better. And it was money. And guess who got the late contest on it? It was A'ja Wilson. You couldn't ask for a better late contest than the Defensive Player of the Year. And she still hit it while moving.
now I'm gonna look at this and see if I'm not wrong here. Okay, yeah. She's going to be a big factor in this game too, because in the Commissioner's Cup between the Aces and the Liberty, in which the Liberty won 82-63, she had 17 points and hit 5 triples in that game. So we were talking about bench play being a you were talking about bench play ultimately being the tipping point of the scale in your decision to pick the Aces over the Liberty in 5 games. If Johannes gets it going from behind the arc, all of a sudden the Liberty have a flamethrower of their own.
I just
In
think they
spite of
only
Alicia,
go
in
ahead,
spite
Cajun.
of Alicia Clark being named the Sixth Man of the Year, Sixth Woman of the Year. Excuse me.
Sixth player, Cajun. I found player normally gets you away with the comment if you just say player.
Mm-hmm.
As another make there for the Aces, they go back up just by one, but this first quarter, I think, is exactly what you and I expected, what most fans had expected, which was an absolute fire show. As a miss there by Vandersloot in the mid range.
Gray using the screen from A'ja Wilson. Not a bad pass, but it was at A'ja Wilson's legs, and we'll have a jump ball.
Something that the NBA does not like doing is jump balls. And obviously something that they don't do in high school or college ball. They just do possession arrow, which I wonder if the NBA/WNBA will ever switch to a possession arrow. I don't expect the NBA to, because it's just something I don't really see them doing. But I think it'd be interesting if they did.
That's a also before you get it. Sorry to interrupt you, but that was a silly reach-in foul by Johannes with 1 second left on the shot clock.
And she's actually going to stay. I think Sanderson just got subbed out for technically Inescu, who got subbed out earlier in the quarter for Johannes.
And Gray with the blow by on Breanna Stewart and lays it up and in. She's got 5 early points. It's actually Jackie Young that's leading the all scores with 8 points as Clark fouls Breanna Stewart and then collides with Chelsea Gray in the process as Jonquil Jones is heading into the tunnel. It may have had something to do with that fall that she had on that offensive on that tussle with with Asia Wilson earlier as Stewart gets the Florida to fall.
And I mentioned it because I was wondering to see if it was going to linger and Jonquel Jones was going to go off. And now, as you mentioned, she does. So we'll see if Jonquel Jones just checked back in. That's a massive loss for the Liberty if they're without one of their better players, one of their probably best post player, beside obviously, of course, reigning MVP.
Gray attacking. Clark for three. Off the rim, no good. And Stewart with the rebound.
And that was a good box out on Wilson.
And Johannes, similar jumper as her first three and same result. 8 points off the bench in just 4 minutes.
How? Kajan, how?
Shoot or shoot.
Kajan, that's one of the, and I hate when coaches press on shot selection because it's not something I personally think really matters. As Ann won there for the Liberty. And that's Laney going to the line.
And honestly, Laney, that was a high IQ play there. You already saw Marine Johannes knock down 2 threes off the leaning nonetheless. So you have to, if you're the Aces, you have to keep her marked. And Laney took advantage of that, split the fake the screen handoff and got an and one out of that.
But I don't know how Johannes is making those shots. I don't, because you'd be yelling if a player took that shot. Look at that. She didn't even plant her feet. She just turned and fired.
Sometimes muscle memory's a thing.
That's one of those shots, Cage, that you just say is a bad shot. Regardless of it going in or not, that's just a bad shot. Another one, that one at least hits the front of the rim, but that one,
Honestly,
again.
that might have been the cleaner look out of the three attempts that she's had from beyond the arc.
Honestly, probably. That was probably her best look off of a almost steal for Plum. A tip pass. They'll probably have the last possession of the quarter. Will the Aces.
So kickball, 2.8 seconds left.
Say they almost lost it there, Cage. That almost could have been disastrous there for the Aces down the quarter.
And Plum hits the top of the backboard and hits the shot clock. And that's how this first quarter will end. Aces went off to a great start. And sometimes you just need to see 1-3 fall, and Marine Johannes saw 1-3 fall and has been dynamite in this first quarter. 1 of 10, might I add, in this year's playoffs. She's 2 of 3 today and's got 8 points more than she's had all playoffs thus far.
And ironically, they're interviewing Breanna Stewart right now in the intermission for the first quarter.